And welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Tom Basile. Now it's time for the Week in Business. All right, this week, the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell gave what I have to say was perhaps the most boring news conference in American history, but he did make some news, saying that the Fed will raise interest rates next year. So what does that mean for consumers and for the stock market? Let's bring in a businesswoman, vice president of the Commonwealth Foundation and fellow at the Independent Women's Forum, Jennifer Stefano, and our money man, business and markets analyst and Newsmax contributor, Seth Denson. Good to see you both.
Hey, Tom.
Good morning.
So, Seth, there could be several rate hikes, he says. What does that mean for investors and for the market, you think, going into 22?
Well, it certainly means that investors will start looking at other areas, specifically where they might put their cash. This is actually a good thing, Tom. We've talked about it, you and I have, a number of times. I've said the Fed needs to raise rates because it's kind of the wild, wild west. And as such, the stock market is not a real reflection of what's going on in the economy. And that's quite frankly because there's nowhere to put your money to make money outside of the stock market, at least solidify. We have cryptocurrency conversations, but nonetheless. So I think this is a good thing. This is a real positive. The Fed is actually showing some maturity finally in putting out there some positive, we'll say, monetary policy.
Now, do you think this change in policy, Seth, is going to impact consumers, and how could that? How could that manifest itself?
If it does start to help rein in inflation, it's going to help consumers in a positive way. The interest rates are the Fed's most effective tool at reining in inflation, and we all know that that's gone off the track. So my hope is that this will start to bring down inflation. I'm not optimistic it's going to do it quickly. We still need the economy fully operating, but until then, it still will help start to ease some of that impact that it's having on consumers.
Jennifer, the Fed chairman last year, he was all about spending money to help with COVID. Now he's changing his tune. I mean, it was a real shift in sort of tone from the Fed because of the inflation concerns. Now, if Biden has lost Powell on, sort of direct welfare, direct aid and spending, can he get that welfare Build Back Better bill passed?
No, as you know, the Build Back Better bill, thankfully, is already been put on ice. Joe Manchin from West Virginia, who knew he was the hero America needed. The fact is, the American people are going to be taking a hit over the next couple of years as we watch inflation rise, as we watch what the Fed is starting to do. And remember, a lot of Americans now, the baby boomers are the largest generation, and they are retiring. So where is their money tied up? It's tied up into the stock market, and for many pensions, they're tied up into private equity, which as rates go up, this will start to impact the bottom line in both. And these are people on fixed income. So as prices also increase, you're going to have a large segment of the electorate that votes who is going to be looking for someone to blame. And right now, as we see by approval ratings, that blame is falling on President Biden and the Democrats.
All right. I went to a mall last week in Tennessee. We're a week before Christmas. Had to do some last-minute shopping. Of course, we were in Tennessee, so nobody was wearing a mask and nobody asked me for my papers. But that aside, I was actually feeling a little bit nostalgic for going to stores. Real quick, Seth, in a post-COVID environment, do you think brick and mortar shopping actually may make a comeback where people really want to go out and actually want to go to a store and touch a product?
I think it will. Listen, I still like to get my hands on a product and see it face to face before I go out and buy it. Like you, Tom, I've started going out and doing some shopping here in Texas. We don't have to wear masks. We're a little bit more open up. So yeah, I think that it's going to make a comeback. I certainly hope so. Our small businesses who don't have the e-commerce capabilities, they need it to open back up. And they need it to come back. My hope is that it certainly will, and I think it will.
Jennifer, what about you?
Yeah, look, I'm with Seth. I like to help the little guy, the small guy in my local community. But if I'm looking at larger consumer trends, here's what's interesting. The wave of buying online is always going to be there, and that's going to increase, and market share is going to increase. But if you look at what Amazon was doing pre-pandemic, they're starting to open up brick and mortar stores because people like to go and see certain products, like, say, electronics. And what's happening is the Best Buys of the world are becoming the showrooms for Amazon, and then people are standing on their phone, and they're going to go find the best price. So I think you have to have a really vigorous online presence, and businesses still will, and that the larger change will have to be competitive in the brick and mortar setting. But again, Seth, good for you. As I always say, Let's help our local communities. Let's help the little guy. Let's help the people that make things right here at home. I'm all for free trade, believe me, but I also know I'm also for voluntary action, and the voluntary action I like to take is to help the little guy, especially around Christmas.
All right. Thank you so much, Seth Denson and Jennifer Stefano. Plenty more still to come here on Wake Up America.